As I ponder my reasons for writing Expectancy, a caregiver's story of navigating family issues between retirement and transition, my faith in a higher power, God in my case, has led me to believe it was His way of helping me survive the trauma and guilt that came with committing my mom to an assisted living facility in 2015. 10 years before, in 2005, I would have bet my last money that I would never be that child who could do what I thought was unthinkable. Life's lessons in the form of financial realities and competing personal obligations have taught me otherwise. It was the Christmas holidays, 2007. I found myself moonlighting as a night shift assistant film editor on a third-tier cable TV program out of an office building on LA's West Side. After years of working in the studio system amongst Hollywood's A-list, and enjoying the perks of being part of a top-rated network television franchise, I had struck out on my own as a producer in search of that ever-elusive brass ring. As fate would have it, the 2007-2008 screenwriters' strike ensued, and independent production came to a screeching halt. So, many fledgling producers like myself were left in the lurch. Disheartened and burnt out, I decided to head back home where I could assist my siblings in the care of our then 82-year-old mother. Ever the optimist, I was also aware that the move would afford me respite in a space where I would be free to regroup, plan my next steps, and be back in the game within a year or so. What I didn't plan on was the deteriorating health of my mother. My journey into caregiving was a slow creep that began 9 years ago and continues to this day. At first, it was minor and more palpable things like convincing my now 85-year-old mom to give up driving to protect herself and others. Less than a year later came more detailed asks like managing her finances when bill payments started slipping through the cracks. Fundamental change occurred after a hospital stay in 2013 that required weeks in a rehabilitation center before she could return home. That return home was when I realized that I was in a circumstance far more complicated and complex than I could have ever imagined. Ironically enough, I had a 15-year career in the healthcare industry prior to becoming a filmmaker. That experience, coupled with paralegal, legal assistant training, provided me with a knowledge base for the challenges I was to face administratively as a primary caregiver. So, dealing with HIPAA restrictions regarding my mom's medical records and working with an elder law attorney to construct the various wills, trusts, and other legal instruments necessary to ensure her continued financial viability was right in my wheelhouse. What I came to realize rather quickly in the process, however, was that I was completely unprepared for the highly emotional and physically draining aspects of caregiving, while also holding down a full-time job. Thankfully, my brother and sister were connected in this regard as they had experienced it firsthand in being my mom's primary caregivers while I was off in Hollywood. It was my older brother who sat me down and helped me to understand that I would have to learn to view my mom more as I did my child than as my parent. And to know that focusing on making decisions in her best interests would be my saving grace and the mental key to help me make it through the role reversal. In 2015, we committed my mom to an assisted living facility. We did the unthinkable. Playing the role of parent to my parent was painful. One of my favorite truths is, an educated person doesn't know everything, but they know where to find the answers. In the book, I share my family's journey to help individuals posit the questions for their particular challenges. And more importantly, find solutions. I include discussions on the legal and tax implications of family members acting as caregivers and other scenarios. For example, my understanding of the nuanced difference in a 1099 contractor and an employee was critical in my relaying the self-employment tax implications to a family member that was considering taking on a caregiving contractor situation. A scenario that could cost them thousands of dollars if done improperly. It is my hope that sharing my story will spur readers to take a proactive stance regarding their family's needs and planning for the care of an aging loved one. So please, share the book and start the conversation.